Opie, welcome to my podcast. Your first podcast.
It is my first, and thanks for having me.
Mate, it's great to have you here. Opie Bosson. I was wondering where you got your name from. And finally, I think I got it. The penny dropped the other day. So your name is Owen Patrick. And so that's like OP as your initials for short.
Yeah, that's right. I've always been called Opie right from the day I was born, really. My grandmother said to my mother, you can't call a little baby Owen. He's not. It's an old person's name, so I got called Opie.
So have I got it right? Is that because your initials are OP?
That's right, yeah. And they've just put IE on the end.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So who calls you Owen?
Lance O'Sullivan. That's about it.
Why does he was like one of your he's one of the greatest jockeys of all time as well, Lance O'Sullivan. I was actually on a TV show with him, Treasure Island.
I remember that, yeah.
He ended up winning. He was an asshole. He voted me off very early. Why does he call you Owen?
Probably for something different, because everyone's called me Opie, and he's just to try and have an angle at you, you know. Like, but yeah, he's been my idol when I started riding, and he was a great mentor to me when I was younger as well.
Yeah, no, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. And his wife Bridget, she was on the show as well, and she's lovely as well. So I reached out to you to get you on the podcast because on Boxing Day 2024, you and this was kind of shocking in the horse racing industry. You announced your retirement.
Yeah, I'd been thinking about it for a while, and just losing the weight was really getting to me, and I was walking around the streets with sweat gear on Christmas Day and watching everybody having their dim meals, and you're sitting there, I've still got to get in the sauna for a few hours and lose some more weight. And I was like, I've just had enough. And I had a few rides and said to one of the boys, I said, I think this might be my last day. And thought about it all the way home and made the decision the next morning.
Had it been playing on your mind for a while?
It had. The scary thing was I just didn't know what was next. But I still really don't know what's next just yet. But I'll just wait for the dust to settle a little bit more, and something will pop up.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I've had so many like high performers on the podcast, and I suppose the type that springs to mind most of all is All Blacks and rugby players, and that steep drop off a cliff when they retire from rugby. And some of them get to retire on their own terms, but a lot of them don't. It's like something that's made for them, and it's fucking terrifying. Because there's two pieces of the puzzle, right? There's the financial piece of the puzzle, which hopefully you've got in place, but a lot of people don't. But then there's also the fact that life is actually quite long. You know, people say life's short, but it's actually quite long, and you need to find something else to fill your days up productively.
Yeah, exactly. Like rugby players, their careers aren't long, mainly because of injury, but jockey's life is, you probably can keep going for a little bit longer, but I find when you're losing weight and all that all the time, it just takes its toll, and I just thought my body just had enough.
Because I'm from... by the way, I'm going to ask a lot of dumb questions because I don't know a lot about horse racing, but I am from Palmerston North, and I got to know a guy called Noel Harris reasonably well. He was fucking old, right? And he was still riding horses. He must have been in his 60s.
He was. I think he's probably one of the oldest to keep going, and he's a lot of trainers say they should. What do they say? They should put his body to science when he dies, because there's going to be never another person like it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's so much to talk about with you, mate. Like the weight cutting thing, I'm intrigued about that, and I am curious to talk about that. But first of all, let's run through some stats here. 2,146 wins, 2,059 of them in New Zealand. So most of your racing was done in New Zealand, but you also raced in Australia a bit and in Asia?
Yes, Singapore, Macau.
And 99 Group 1 victories in New Zealand and Australia. First of all, again, probably a dumb question, but what does it mean? What does a Group 1 mean?
Group 1s are the pinnacle of any race, the highest quality and the most status.
And you're the GOAT of that. No one's won more than 99?
Not in New Zealand. A New Zealand-based jockey anyway. And I know James McDonald's passed it now, and but it's quite good to be a New Zealand-based jockey to achieve that.
Who's next on the list?
Lance O'Sullivan, I think. I think he was on 68. And he's retired.
Are you happy with him calling you Owen? Because I feel like with 99 versus 68, if you want him to call you Opie, he can fucking call you Opie.
He should by now.
I've got a quote here from you in March 2024. So this is 9 months before you announced your retirement. In this interview in March 24, you were asked about your retirement plans. and you said, I've got a few more years left, barring injuries. I'd like to get to 100 Group 1 winners and ride for a few more seasons.
Yeah, I was trying my best to get to the 100, and the mind and the body were saying no. So I don't know, maybe a few years down the track, if the body comes right again, I might have one more crack at that. But at this stage, I'm definitely retired.
But you're at peace with 99.
Yes, Sam. It's just a number.
Yeah. Yeah, it is just a number. I remember Richie McCaw, he retired at the end of the, I think, 2015 season. Final game was the Rugby World Cup final, which the All Blacks won. And he was on 148 tests, and there was a lot of chat, people saying, why don't you come back next year, play a couple, get to 150. But it's kind of arbitrary in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I know you probably get remembered for saying, oh, you rode 100 Group 1 winners, but it's not going to change anything. So that's why I thought, just go out on your own terms without being injured, and yeah.
So you're sort of at peace now? We're recording this almost, I don't know, I suppose 3 weeks after that announcement. Are you at peace?
I am a bit. I feel so more relaxed that I don't have to stress about losing weight and everything like that. But at the same time, I'm still helping out, riding a bit of track work just to keep fit and healthy.
How are you feeling about this? Because this is, as we said at the beginning, this is your first podcast. Are you nervous? Are you quite comfortable?
I'm very nervous. My hands are sweating.
Are they? Well, because I've spent most of my adult life, I guess, in a studio, and I started in radio very young, when I was 17. You started riding horses, as an apprentice when you were 15. So I suppose, the way you're feeling now would be like me if I was on the back of a horse.
It's like fish out of water, really. It's just something different, but it seems to be going okay so far.
Yeah, well, the goal is to relax you and basically just celebrate your life and career. I've done a lot of research, and there's a lot of highs, so it'd be great to talk about them. And maybe some of the lows as well. There was, a New Zealand Herald, they wrote a story about your retirement, and I've got a quote here. A genius in the saddle, sometimes troubled out of it. And I Googled, I couldn't find any dirt on you. What does that mean?
Had the odd girlfriend here and there, but I get a little bit wayward. Go and have a night out and go for about 3 nights. So about slowly growing up, I think.
Right. Oh, that seems a bit mean-spirited of the Herald to put that line in there. Did you read that and that's a little bit below the belt?
There's always someone having a little dig about something anyway.
Well, if that's the worst thing you've done, that's not bad. I was thinking something scandalous in the horse racing industry. Nothing scandalous?
No, definitely not.
No. What about other goals? So ultimately you wanted to get to 100 Group 1 winners and you got to 99. But as I said, 2,146 wins overall. Is there any goals that you wanted to achieve that you didn't?
No, I'd love to have won a Melbourne Cup, but I think my best chance of doing that was a horse called Mongolian Khan, and he won the lead-up race, the Caulfield Cup, and then got sick 2 days before the Melbourne Cup when he was favourite, and so then that was my only chance of really winning a Melbourne Cup, and that was probably my biggest low of my career.
Why is Melbourne Cup such a big deal for a jockey?
It's the biggest race of Australasia and even the world now. So they stops a nation, so it pretty much stops 2 nations, and all the English horses come and Japan horses come down and go for it.
Because you rode it a couple of times, but just early in your career.
Yeah, I did. Then at the lighter weights, so you've got to be able to ride pretty light to pick up a decent ride in that race these days.
What do you mean in terms of the body weight of the jockey?
Yes, it's usually around about 54 kilos below.
What are you today?
Probably about 62.
You fat fuck. What do you think? 'Cause this is probably something that you've never got to enjoy or experience in the almost 30 years that you've been racing as a jockey. But what do you think your comfortable weight will be?
I think I'm quite comfortable now. I actually feel a little bit fat, so I think once you start eating a normally, and the weight will flatten out a bit.
Yeah, so those 2 Melbourne Cups you did, so you were young at the time, like a teenager?
Yeah, I think I was 18, and then the second one I was 20. So
right.
So I rode 54 when I was 18, then 50 kilos when I was 20.
How'd you get on those years?
No good. The first one I thought was a chance of winning at the top of the straight, but then he just faded, run 11th, and the second one was no chance. It was just having a ride in the race, really.
It sounds like the sort of horse that I usually bet on.
Just going around.
Again, probably a lot of dumb questions here, but I figure if I've got these questions, then a lot of people listening will have these questions as well. How much of the performance of a horse comes down to the jockey versus the horse itself? Like, how much of a difference can you make?
I don't think if the horse is good enough, it usually can win. But I think as a jockey, you have to put it in the right place at the right time and be in, as I say, in the right time, be in the right position to attack up the straight without going past over too much ground. But the horse is the biggest thing.
Because some of the articles I've read about you in the past week, knowing that we've got this podcast coming up, like some really experienced people like Lance O'Sullivan, for example, they talk about you just having this instinct or this knack of getting the horse into the right place.
Yeah, people ask me after a race, they're like, well, why'd you do that? And I was like, do what? And they're like, at this certain point of the race. And I was like, I don't know, it just happened. And like, I'm actually quite blessed to be able to do that. And like you see, a lot of people, they work really, really hard to try and get that, but it come quite naturally to me.
All right, well, let's go back to the early years, and then we'll work our way through chronologically the Opie Bosson story. So, Dad and Granddad both jockeys.
Yep.
Your dad was okay, but not brilliant.
No, he was an amateur jockey, and I think he might have ridden a couple of winners, but he trained a few horses. That's pretty much how I got into it.
So, what's your earliest memory of a horse?
Oh, we always had horses, race horses at the stable, but not a big amount. But I think I got a photo of me when I was about 2, sitting on a horse in the middle of the paddock by myself. So that's probably the earliest memory I've had.
So it was like a second nature sort of thing, really, eh? Just that comfort of being around horses, I guess.
It is, and I always wanted to be a jockey from about the age of 3. I had my own set of colours made, and used to rock around in them. And it was a dream for me anyway.
Actually, why? Yeah, why did you want to? Why was it just like a kid that wanted to be like his dad?
Yeah, well, I think my dad was always into it, and a lot of his mates were into it, and yeah, I think it was just in my head, and I just love the horse as well.
And where did you go to school? How was school, by the way? Were you quite small for your size?
Yeah, I went to school in Rotorua.
Just having a water break.
No, I like school. Pretty much went to eat my lunch, but I was quite small. But I'd go to school to play rugby, and then I had to make this decision when whether I wanted to be a rugby player or a jockey. And I was like, well, I'm definitely going to have to be a jockey, so I'm not big enough to be a rugby player.
Oh, you could have been all right as a halfback, couldn't you?
That's pretty much what I was.
Yeah. Were you teased at school for being small, or not really?
Not really. You'd get the odd bully, but I grew up in quite a tough school too, but we all seemed to get on okay.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. So when was this? Like in the 80s or the 90s?
80s, 90s. Yeah.
I don't think anyone sort of gets through unscathed. Like everyone is going to be subject to some sort of bullying for something. Low-level banter, bullying, call it whatever you want to. Okay, so you started at 15 in 1990?
95.
Why have I got?
How old do you think I am?
Well, what are you, 43, 44?
44.
44.
Yeah.
Why have I got 1990 in Dargaville?
That's 95 in Dargaville.
Oh, 95 in Dargaville.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember that? That was your first race?
Yes, I had 4 races that day. I think my first one was a horse called Commit, and she bucked the jockey off the start before, but I think she ran about 5th, and then my second ride I got beat a nose, and I didn't ride a winner for my first 17 rides. So.
How nervous were you the first time, your first proper race day?
Oh, I was nervous, but you don't really know what's going on either, which you can be a bit naive, and I had good bosses and people around me that trained me up quite well.
Yeah, there's a saying I really like, that youth is wasted on the young. You have this sort of youthful like brashness or arrogance or ignorance or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, do you feel like that was the case with you?
Oh, 100%, right through my apprenticeship, I thought.
Yeah. So when did you leave school?
I left school the day I turned 15, and then 3 months later I rode my first race, and then back then you had to do 5 years apprenticeship, and in October in 2000 I came out.
Yeah, what does the apprenticeship entail?
Um, you got to work during the day for your boss, and like stable duties and stuff like that. But when you come out, you're on your own. You can do whatever you want.
Oh, okay. So you're but your ultimate goal is to be a jockey. So you do like say track work in the morning.
Yeah, and then stable duties like mucking
Okay.
stables out, and yeah,
Fuck, tough apprenticeship, eh?
it is long hours.
Yeah, like what?
I start at 4:30 and to 11, and then go back at 2 till 5. That's what we used to do every day.
For 5 years.
Yep.
And towards the end of it, like this is when you were riding Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, but I spent a lot of time in Australia, so they'd send me over to ride in Australia. But so I'd kind of work it out. I'd ride at the races enough and trials, and so I didn't have to go on to do all the stable work.
Like, would it have mattered if you didn't complete your apprenticeship? Like, if you're at the level where you're riding Melbourne Cup horses before you finish your apprenticeship, you obviously, you're well on the way.
You have to finish your apprenticeship.
Oh, okay.
So for you to get your license as a senior jockey.
Right. And your first one, that was a horse called Fairly Early?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, where was that? What are your recollections about that day?
That was at Gisborne. It was for my godfather, Stephen Ortridge. He was training for Te Akau then, and he's one of my favourite horses in the stable too, which was quite fitting.
Mm. Was that horse supposed to win?
He wasn't a great horse, but he ended up winning 3 or 4 races, so he was handy.
Yeah, and you said before that it was like 17 races before you had a win. So that must have been incredibly satisfying for you. You must have been elated.
Yeah, it was. It was only a few weeks. I had 4 races my first day, so and then probably another 5 the next day. So it was probably about my 3rd race meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 420 winners by the time your apprenticeship finished at the age of 20.
Yeah.
Is that a good amount? Like in horse circles where people are like, shit, this Opie, he's good.
Yeah, I think only James McDonald and Michael Walker are the only ones that have done better than that.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite horse?
Imperatrice is my favourite. She was just so fast and had so much success on her. Won 9 Group 1s on her, and she was a champion in my eyes anyway.
Mm. Yeah, these will probably be another set of dumb questions here, but I'm intrigued about the the jockey horse relationship. So, because it's not a case of you just turning up to a race, mate, them giving you a horse and say, you have quite a lot to do with each horse, right?
Sometimes you've never ridden a horse before. A lot of the times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you just rock up and the trainer tells you what it's like and everything like that, and you do a bit of form on it, like how it's trialled or how it's raced in previous races. But at 9 times out of 10, you rock up and never touched the horse before.
No fucking way. I assumed that it was like a very special relationship between a horse and a jockey. Like you can sort of sense how they're feeling, and you've done all the track work with them. Is that not
we do
what
that?
What are you doing all the track work for at 4:30 in the morning if you're not riding on the specific horse?
That's with the stable I work with at Te Akau, in Matamata. But you can't be everywhere. So you go to Palmerston North and you ride for different trainers. So go to anywhere really, and there's just so many different trainers, and you can't really get yourself around to train all their horses.
Yeah, but surely if there was like specific like horses that you were riding on a lot of the time, like you and the horse would get to know each other, and you'd both perform better as a duo.
Yeah,
I got to get into the horse industry. I've been doing it all wrong.
I get to know the horses that I work with at Te Akau. I know pretty much every single one of them, but other horses you just rock up and jump on and see how you go.
Mm. And do you, as a jockey, do you get emotional when like a horse that you've had a lot to do with like gets unwell or gets injured or passes away?
No, not really. I got a little bit emotional when Imperatrice retired, only because in the back of my mind, I knew I wasn't far off retiring after her. But you probably get used to it when horses finish racing and or one gets hurt. It happens a little bit, but you just got to let it put it in the back of your mind and not really worry about it. Yeah,
actually, what you were saying before about just turning up to a race meet and riding a horse, I suppose, like, if you're going to have to whip a horse, it's probably easy to do it if it's a horse you don't know rather than a horse that you've become quite close with.
You just got that will to win. It's like you don't really. That all just goes.
Right. I saw a post-race speech on YouTube where you started crying or you were cracking up, talking fondly about the horse Melody Bell.
Yeah, I had a lot of success on her. So she was the horse I won every single Group 1 race on in New Zealand. So she was the one that I got the last one on, which I hadn't won. So that was quite an emotional day to get them all done.
Yeah. Oh, so it was emotional. What, because of the horse, or just because you're like your own personal sort of sense of achievement?
Yeah, just the own achievement, and you when you're wasting, the emotions come when you're losing weight all the time. The emotions come a lot quicker. You can get a little bit, yeah.
Oh, because you haven't eaten for like 3 days.
Yeah, and you're dry. And, yeah.
All right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What about horses that you didn't like?
Oh, there's a few of them. Anyone that bucks me off or something like that going, you don't really like them too much unless they're really fast. But there's not that many that you come across that you just don't like. Usually at the races they're a lot easier to ride because they know they've got a job to do, and in a race they seem to be a lot easier.
How do they know they've got a job to do?
That's what they're trained to do.
Right.
And they love it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, 'cause there's I'm sure these people won't be listening to this podcast, but yeah, there are a lot of people that are anti-horse racing. You generally see them come out every time there's an incident at the Melbourne Cup or something. What are your thoughts on that? The horses, like at the level you're riding, they're treated very well, eh?
Oh, they're treated like athletes. They get they go on the treadmill. They get baths and and they live like kings. They get brushed every day and fed like like kings as well. So I just wish those people would come in and actually see how well they're looked after.
Yeah, I suppose it's just triggering for some people when you see a horse get injured and then the curtain gets put up and it gets shot. What's the sort of emotion like in your line of work or at the stables when something like that happens?
You see a lot of the staff that work at the stables, they look after that horse and that's their pride and joy, and that's you really feel sorry for them because as a jockey, I just turn up and ride them in the mornings and then I go home, but they look after the horse all day, and which is it's quite sad when you see one get hurt and those people really suffer.
What about you? Have you had any bad injuries? What's the worst accident you've had? You've been bucked off a horse and run over by other horses? I've
broken a collarbone, a few shoulders, and a few ribs and a sternum. But touch wood, I've been quite lucky over the years, and I've just got those niggly little pains, but that's just from wear and tear.
Compared to most jockeys, like with your age and your experience, have you got off quite lightly?
I've been very lucky, yeah. A few of my mates have broken their backs and necks, and yeah.
Really? Like, so you've got some friends that can no longer walk, or?
I've got one guy I used to ride with. He was riding a horse and it just stumbled and he went head first, and he's in a wheelchair. And there's another good jockey in Hong Kong, Ty Anglin. He's Australian based, but he had a horse knuckle over coming out of the gates, and he's paralysed as well.
I can't imagine many things more terrifying than like riding a horse at your level and being like in a pack amongst other horses.
Yeah, it only takes one wrong move. If someone falls in front of you and there's nowhere really to go, you just go over top. And it if someone says it doesn't hurt, they're lying, because it does hurt.
Is that why you made a point in your career of being at the front, so there was no one in front of you that could?
Well, at the front at the right time, anyway.
What else? The overseas stuff. So yeah, you raced in Australia a little bit and Singapore. You said what are those? What are your reflections like on those experiences?
Singapore was a great experience. It was a beautiful country to live in. The racing back then was first class, and had quite a lot of success there in some big races. And Australia, it's like a second home really now. I used, for a while, I was flying over every weekend and go over on Friday night, then come back Saturday night. So it's racing's pretty much like here.
Yeah, and you've mentioned before the weight thing a couple of times actually, and yeah, so let's get into that and the nuances of that. I've actually had a guy on the podcast before called George Lockhart, who's Joseph Parker's trainer at the moment. He's done lots of stuff over the years. He's known as like the world's best weight cutter in fighting circles. Worked with like Conor McGregor, Holly Holm, the Furies, now Joseph Parker. What does it entail for you? Is this something you have to do like almost every weekend?
Yeah, pretty much nearly most days of the week. So I put sweat like a sauna suit on and jackets and all that, and go for a walk or a run to sweat, and then every night I jump in the hot bath and sweat in there for a couple of hours, and then the morning of the races do the same thing. But you're just like a sponge. You're squeezing all the sweat out, and then as soon as you have something to drink, you just go straight back on.
And in terms of diet and stuff during the week,
yeah, you got to watch what you eat. Towards the end, I got a little bit slack and was enjoying probably too many beers and too much food, but only because my heart wasn't really in it. So
yeah, because I struggle to understand, like with this guy George Lockhart, like how a fighter can get to the point where they're carrying too much weight and where they've got months and months in between each fight. But yeah, if you're doing it like week in week out, like you were. You were keeping yourself at a good weight. Oh, did you just have like one treat day a week, and that was when you finished racing in the weekend, or
it's pretty much on a Sunday. Like a barbecue day and beers day. But with the fighters, that they weigh out like the day before, and they don't have to weigh back in at that weight. They can eat and drink whatever they want. So we have to weigh out, and then after the race, weigh back in at that weight again. So it just goes. You can't really have anything till the end of the day of racing.
It's not a fun way to spend your 20s and your 30s, is it?
Yeah, if you really liked, it would be the easiest job in the world. Yeah. Well, for me anyway.
There was one race I saw online, the Karaka Millions, where there's a crowd chanting, there's only one Opie Bosson. Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I remember pulling up down the back straight, and you can just hear this chant, and I was trying to work out what they were saying. And the closer I got coming back, you realise what they were saying. And one of the boys was like, "Just stop and listen to this. You'll probably never ever see this ever again." And it was really cool actually. Like that you had so many fans out there and chanting your name, felt like an All Black, really.
Yeah. So the Karaka Millions. So that's a really big race.
Yeah, this 2-year-old race, which is worth $1 million, and a 3-year-old race is worth $1 million on the same night. And I'm lucky enough, had a lot of success in those.
Amazing. So that night when they were yelling out this one Opie Bosson, did you win the main race of the day?
Yeah, I won both of them. Yeah. So,
wow.
I think I've won the race 5 times. I think. Yeah.
And when you're racing, can you hear anything from the stands or from the speakers, or not really?
Sometimes
so noisy.
Sometimes you can hear the crowd, but you kind of block all that out. But 9 times out of 10, you don't hear anything.
Mm. Yeah, and that crowd chanting your name, yeah, that must be surreal.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like you're just sitting there listening to them, but that's what keeps you going when you hear people like that yelling out your name in a good way. And but yeah, it's quite exciting, really.
Has there been people yelling out your name in not a good way?
Oh yeah, you cop it all the time.
Like from who?
Like people over the fence just telling you to give up, and Australia is probably the worst because they love a punt over there, and if you stuff up, they give it to you.
Oh, so those guys in the stand, they obviously had bet on the horse that you were riding, so they were elated.
Yeah, they must have been happy.
Oh, is that right? Well, I suppose God, better to abuse the jockey than the horse, I suppose.
Well, the horse is not going to listen, really, are they?
Well, did that sort of criticism hurt? Like when you're out there and you're doing your best, and
you kind of just block it out. But you get people on social media message you and abusing you. I've had death threats and had to get escorted off the course, and the police involved, and they found out where I lived and said they were going to come and kill me and stuff like that. But they found them. The police found them after about 6 months.
That's terrifying.
Oh, it was at the time because you weren't sure if they're joking or not. Because 9 times out of 10 you're just saying yeah whatever. But when when you find out they know where you live and everything, they tell you we know where you live, and that scares you a little bit.
Jesus, where was that?
It was after a Crack a Million race meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously not that one where you
No,
won.
I didn't win that one.
Everyone wanted me to make that day.
I won one of them, but I got beat in the second one, and they didn't like that.
Wow. And yeah, I mean, there's those guys in the stand, but do jockeys have groupies?
Not really. Not that I know of. It's been nothing like the All Blacks or anything like that. Like the sports stars like them, they're more in the spotlight.
Yeah. There's been a couple of huge honours in your career. The 2023 King's Birthday honours. What was that? What did you get in the Queen's Birthday honour? King's Birthday honours 2023.
An ONZM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a bit of a shock when I got an email saying I've been accepted, like not accepted, but the King's Honour award, and it was bloody nerve-wracking going up there and getting the medal and everything like that.
Yeah, so how does that come about? Does someone nominate you, or?
Yes, I think if someone nominates you, and then it takes them a few. Oh, they told me 6 months beforehand, and I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. But it's sort of bloody nerve-wracking on the day.
So you get told you're not allowed to tell anyone. This is interesting. I've had so many people on the podcast that have had various honours like this. Who did you tell? No one tells absolutely nobody.
Oh, no, you told a few of your mates. It's like, just don't say anything.
And then, why was it nerve-wracking? So you go to Government House, do you?
Yeah. Well, I'm not really a out there kind of guy. I get quite shy and everything like that. And to receive something like that was, I was shit myself, really.
Amazing. Yeah, we've been chatting for maybe half an hour now, and that's definitely the impression I get about you. Like, yeah, you're not. I don't know. I don't know what I expected. I probably expected someone more. I don't know. Maybe more brash, more arrogant, more cocky.
No, I've never been like that, and it's just something I don't enjoy. Seeing real cocky like jockeys come along, and you're like, just calm down. You got to treat everyone the same, like, yeah.
You got to tell them no one likes a cocky jockey. Were you cocky when you were younger though? Like,
no, I'm very shy. That's probably why I'm quite shy now. So if you got cocky when I was growing up, the old man would put you back in the place in your place straight away.
But did you ever have like a cocky phase, or a phase where you realise you were good, or you start to get high on your own supply? You're winning these races. Everyone's telling you how awesome you are. Did it ever get to your head?
Not that I know of. Some people might say I might have been a little bit, but I've always tried to keep quite humble, and yeah. So, my mind, I think no, not at all.
Mm.
A lot of people say to me, "You've always been the same right from day one."
When you hear that must be incredibly satisfying. I think that's a huge compliment, eh?
It is cool because I don't want to be. I don't even like talking about myself really. So no, it's pretty cool when someone does say that to you.
Yeah, and the in 2023, same year as the King's Birthday honours, you were inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame. What does that mean? It's
the racing industry recognise you for your achievements, and that's probably one thing that I really wanted to get. Just be acknowledged for what I've done in the saddle, and that was that's I got quite emotional when accepting that.
Did you?
Yeah, I started tearing up and choking up, and it's put my head down for a bit and pull myself together. But no, it was that's probably the highest honour I thought I've had.
Yeah, well, was it a surprise, or was it just like standing up there in front of your peers and stuff that made you emotional?
Yeah, it was a bit, and again, they told me 6 months before, and I wasn't allowed to tell anyone about that either.
Who did you tell? A couple of mates?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. You're terrible with secrets.
But you think you're ready for it, but not when you get up onto the stage. Yeah.
So who were you looking at in the room? Like, were there some faces you saw that made you emotional, or?
Nah, it's just I try not to look at anyone. Like when you watch the footage and people talking about you and everything like that, and the good horses you've ridden, on the TV, watching it beforehand, that starts to get you going straight away.
Would you describe yourself as quite an emotional guy?
Not really. Just at certain times. Yeah, I'm usually pretty chilled.
And like, just in reflection of your career, like, what would you say are the best and worst things about being a jockey? Worst, I'd say, must be the weight cutting, which we've sort of established just how arduous that is.
Oh, 100%. The worst is pretty much why I retired. But there's nothing better than riding a winner. It doesn't really matter if it's a maiden win for $5,000 or a $3 million race. You can be down and out and having a bad day, and as soon as you get that winner, it just picks you straight back up.
Yeah, and what about the people?
I've met a lot of great people, a lot of close friends. I've pretty much been in it since I was 14, so pretty much all my friends are racing people, and I've got some really close mates.
Oh yeah, your first wife, she was a jockey, eh?
Sam Spratt, yes.
Yeah. Did you guys ever race each other?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, we've raced with each other pretty much all the way through. Yeah.
How'd that work?
No, pretty good actually. We get on quite well. So she's going really well at the moment.
Is she still riding?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's one of our leading riders.
Yeah. How long were you guys married for?
Oh, only a couple of years.
Right.
We've got a son, Cody. He's 19. So,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was ages ago.
A while ago, yeah.
So it wasn't weird when you were like racing each other going head to head. Like it wasn't like at home the day before you have to stay out of each other's space and.
No, not really. It's you just go there and do your job. Yeah. You get to know all the jockeys quite well because you spend a lot of time with them in the jockeys room and give each other a bit of shit and stuff like that. But everyone's not out there to try and cause an accident or anything like that. So people do respect you.
She's sorry, you can tell me to fuck off if you don't want to answer this, but how do you get married and it only lasts 2 years?
Probably a little bit too young, I think. And I don't really want to answer it.
I reckon I could probably guess. Okay, we'll let that one slide. Yeah. You've been married. According to Wikipedia, you got married and your marriage broke up like in 2024 last year. So that was a 7-year one.
Yes.
So you're 2 marriages down now. Yeah. How's that? Is it hard?
Oh, it's very hard. Yeah. It's something I don't really like to talk about, and because it's still very new. So we're still trying to work through the process of that.
Yeah. I've had a failed marriage myself, and it fucking sucks. It's hard.
Yeah, well, you have to do it over on the radio too. But I've seen it.
Yeah. In terms of like adversities that you've been through, like no one gets to the privilege of being in their sort of early to mid 40s without going through some adversity. Was that be some of the biggest, the relationship stuff, or is there other stuff?
I think that's probably the biggest. And you get a bit of depression and from cutting weight and some things aren't going right. But I still get help now to go and talk to someone to try and get me back on track.
Yeah, do you? Yeah, I was going to ask about your mental health. That's something I like to discuss with my guests. Yeah, in terms of depression and stuff. Yeah, just you've experienced that.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not something you can just say, oh, you'll be right, because you're not. And I think the best thing is to go and talk to somebody and get things put into place and try and take the right steps.
When did you first start getting some counselling?
I've gone through stages, but I've been getting counselling the last probably 6 months.
Yeah. How do you find that? Helpful?
Yeah. The person I go to has nothing to do with racing and didn't know who I am or anything like that, so which is good.
Yeah, so the age you are now, I was probably about that same age when I went to a therapist for the first time, and I found it really, really good. And I should have done it years earlier, and I don't know why I kept on putting it off, but you get to go there and you sit down and you sort of talk about yourself for an hour, and I thought it was going to be weird, and I thought I don't know where to start. But you realise they're the professional and they sort of take care of it for you. It's bloody great.
That's exactly how I felt.
Mm.
And there's a lot of the boys go and see sports psychiatrists as well, and I think that really helps. And there's people in the New Zealand racing that they've put that in place as well for the jockeys to go and reach out.
Yeah, and how are you today from a mental health perspective? You feeling good?
I'm good. Yeah, good as gold. Feel like I've got a bit of pressure off my shoulders without having to lose weight, and can eat and drink whatever I want at the moment. So I feel really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good because I suppose it could go two ways. Like you could feel like a sense of loss, like even though it's your decision to retire, that there's this hole in your life or this gap, which could make you even more depressed, and that's something to deal with. But I'm pleased you're feeling the other way.
Yeah, no. I think the first few days when I announced it was the hardest part, but when you come to reality, you're like, oh, I think I did do the right decision. So
Why were the first few days the hardest part?
because you don't know. I wasn't sure what was next. I didn't know how to feel. I felt emotional, and then you'd see something on TV, tributes, or you read something, and you're like, oh, have I done the right thing? But I deep down, I really think I have.
Mm. Yeah, I suppose it's so final. So how did you make that announcement? So cause it all seems very sudden. So you were going for a run on Christmas Day, then on Boxing Day it's in the papers. Do you just ring like a journalist, or how do you?
So my agent is he's a journalist. It was the 27th when I announced it because I rode on Boxing Day, and then I was driving home and I was thinking about it all the time, the whole way home, and then I went and had a meeting with the bosses the next morning and just said, I've had enough, and then we had to wait and then put the announcement out the next afternoon, and so my agent wrote something for me to put on X.
Mm. Yeah, and once it's out there, it just feels so, I suppose, final and permanent.
Yeah, it was, but then the phone started ringing, and I got hundreds of texts and stuff like that, and then you get a few interviews on the radio and stuff like that. But it was quite emotional, really.
Mm. Yeah, I suppose it's just one of those moments you have in your career when you just realise what you've done and the impact you've had on people.
Yeah, it's you don't realise at the time until you, as I said, you see all these tributes to you and they do a short clip on the trackside, and people talking about you and how good they thought you were and stuff like that, and it's like you wouldn't be human if you didn't start tearing up a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, now that you're no longer riding, what will your relationship with gambling be like? Like, do you feel like you're good at picking horses, or knowing what you know, are you like, I'd never go near it?
I've never been a big gambler. I don't like losing money too much. But
if you've got the knowledge you've got, like, do you feel like you could make money, or is it really just a bit of a lottery sometimes?
I think some people are good at it. I kind of know the horses that I'm working with, but in saying that, it's not something I'd like to get into.
Mm. What about regrets? Regrets, career and otherwise?
I don't have many regrets in my riding career. Maybe probably could have been a little bit more disciplined with my weight, and would have made it a lot easier. But no, I just after everything that's gone on over the last 12 to 6 months, I just want to try and be a better person, really.
Mm. Yeah, I try and do that every day. Every day, just try and be a little bit better than before. So, and you're always going to fuck up, aren't you? But that's part of, I suppose, the human experience. What's your inner voice like when you're alone? How do you talk to yourself? Are you quite kind?
Yeah, yeah. Like you mean like do I punish myself?
You beat yourself up, or you generally quite compassionate to yourself?
Usually pretty good. You have your ups and downs like anybody, but I usually try and keep myself pretty cool.
Yeah, so when you're racing, if you have a day where you know that you haven't done as well as what you could have to the Opie Bosson standards, are you okay with it? You just draw a line in the sand and get on with your night.
What you do with every day's going to be different, isn't it? For being a jockey, you can't win everything, so
Yeah.
you got to get used to losing.
Mm. And what about vulnerability? Like it's a kind of a buzzword at the moment. And yeah, 'cause I'm a little bit older than you, but yeah, when we were kids, like you'd never sort of talk about your feelings or anything. It just wasn't something that was done. It was sort of a drink a cup of concrete and harden up sort of mentality. And we know now that if anything, vulnerability is a strength rather than a weakness, and it's good to talk about these things. Now, we've established that you're good at talking to your mates when you've got like a King's birthday honour coming up. Are you good at talking to have you got a circle of friends that you can talk to about like serious stuff?
Probably only 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But my problem is I probably lock things up, and but I don't know. I bottle things really, and try and forget about them. But I think it's as you start going to the counselling and all thing, and they teach you ways to work through that.
Yeah, it's hard, eh? Like I'm probably guilty of that as well. You got friends and they'll say, "No, really, how are you?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, no, all good." It's hard though, and you know that vulnerability is a good thing, and you know that it's going to make you feel better to talk about this stuff. But it's just hard to rip that Band-Aid off, and
It's just you're just not brought up like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't anyway, so yeah.
yeah. But it's good that you've got an inner circle that you can talk to with this stuff.
Yeah, I've got a few close mates, and that jockeys and ex-jockeys as well, and I've got my godfather, Stephen Orchard, just lives around the corner, and I can always go to him for a chat.
Yeah. What would you say your best and worst habits are?
Probably worst habits, probably having too many beers, but my best habits, I don't know. I always try and be happy and be kind to people.
They are great habits. It's really cool. What about your recent ex-wife? What would she say your best and worst habits are?
Oh, God.
Okay, let's not.
Yeah, we'll leave that one.
Looking back on your career, what do you think you're most proud of?
I think proud of being in the Hall of Fame and getting the King's Honour and being one of the best jockeys New Zealand's ever had. But really, and had so much success and at the highest level, which is but that's what I'm proud of.
Yeah, are you worried now that whatever the next chapter of your life brings, it won't bring you the same sort of like adrenaline or the same sort of highs that you've experienced?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's never going to have those highs ever again. So, but if I can get into something, into horse racing, like that competitive edge without being a jockey, I'll definitely look at it, like as in training or something like that.
Yeah, what do you think the future will bring? Have you got any sort of idea? You must be just at that stage now. This is what I'm just projecting here. This is what I was like when I was left radio. It was like you bounce around a bunch of ideas. And some of them you think are really good, and then you just follow down a different path. But what are the sort of ideas that you're bouncing around at the moment?
I'm going to have a meeting with my big boss on Monday, and to talk about the future. And he's been a great mentor to me since I was 14. So we'll have a chat and see where the next step is. But in all honesty, I had no idea. Just waiting for the dust to settle a little bit and something will pop up.
What have you been eating in the last couple of weeks?
Pretty much anything I could.
No, but in terms of like bad shit that you've deprived yourself from, like largely over the last 30 odd years, like what have you just been leaning into the last couple of weeks?
Oh, that's just having a meal every night, which is the best thing, yeah. And have lunch or something like that without feeling guilty. So just living normal, really.
Yeah, is it like a constant state of feeling guilty or feeling, just self-conscious and feeling like you're not doing enough in terms of your weight?
Well, you're always worried about whatever you eat, you've always got to take that back off within a day or two. So and that's why you got to really keep an eye on what you take in, because you have to sweat that all out.
It's not a career for the faint, is it?
Nah, you got to be pretty strong-minded, and that's pretty much what ended my career after 30 years. I just got sick of it.
I can sort of understand that now. Like when read the announcement just after Christmas, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, here you are, you're still quite young on the big scheme of things. You could keep riding for many more years if you wanted to. Sitting down with you today, like hearing about the weight stuff, it makes perfect sense. What would you say a young kid came to you and said they wanted to be a jockey? Could you look them in the eye in good faith and say, yeah, do it, it's great? It's been really good for you, right?
Yeah, if you're small enough, it's a perfect job if you have a lot of success at it. But you just got to be disciplined, and if you're a little bit bigger, naturally you're going to grow anyway because you start when you're so young. When you hit your 20s, you start filling out a little bit. So, it's given me a lot of pleasure over the years, and it's been really good to me, the game.
Mm. In terms of legacy, how would you like to be remembered in horse racing circles?
I'd like to be remembered as one of the legends of New Zealand racing, really.
Better than Lance O'Sullivan.
More Group 1s anyway.
Way more. Like so many, 31 more. Shit, he must be pissed about that. But he's got way more commercial properties than you, so there's that.
He's got a nice big farm as well.
Nice big farm. Hey, Opie, this has been great today, mate. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You still feeling nervous, or are you quite relaxed?
No, I'm still sweating.
Yeah.
But no, it's just something I'm just not used to. But I'm actually glad I came in.
Well, I'm glad you did it too. Like, absolute absolute legend of the New Zealand horse racing industry, Hall of Famer, King's Birthday honours, 99 Group 1 wins, and now a guest on the Dom Harvey podcast.
No, thanks for having me.
Did you tell any of your mates you were coming on this today, or you kept this a quiet?
No, I told a few of the boys.
Hey, you're a legend, mate. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, Opie.